Namrata asked another question. Are they creating all the traditional music themselves or pulling out from archives and then merging? If original, who's creating it?
So I think, Rahul, there was a mix, right? There were, as Anand said, there were specific songs like Jago Mohan Pyare is, of course, something that has been there in our tradition and in our culture for eons, and it's not something that we created for the show. But Garaj Garaj is an original composition that Shankar created, so it's a completely original composition. I think like for example, some of the songs in the Jugal Bandi in the last episode. Whether you look at Padharo Mare Desh, now we know that that's something that we pulled out from the archives. But similarly, Vira is an original composition that is something that that was built on. So I think I think there was a mix of taking from the stuff that already existed, but giving it a presentation that was newer, a presentation that fit the story, and of course there was a lot of original. And I think we have to look at compositions in a very different light for this show, because there is a lot of incredible music that is not a song but is actually in the episodes as even the practice sessions. If you really look at the way some of the montages are created, where they're learning and practicing music, the music that's been created for that is also an original background score, or is taking, say for example, the Thumri that Anand spoke about. It's almost a lesson to an audience on how it came alive, because it starts with, for the first time when you hear it, that Panditji sings it, and then really you see Radhe learn the Thumri as the episodes go along. So you actually are part of that song making process, because you're seeing it from like bare bricks and being built up into a full song. So I think, the short answer to Namrata's question is that there's a mix of both.
Wow. And one of my questions, if now am I allowed to put in my perspective, is,
no, of course.
Something which is really very, very, I would say the spicy part of the show is this rivalry between Atul Kulkarni and Naseeruddin Shah. It's like, I can't say Salieri and Mozart, that's too much as a comparison, but it's like, it's almost skittish to a certain level. That you see that I think the real beauty of Mr. Naseeruddin Shah as an actor is that he kills softly, in the show. I mean, he's like brutal, but like there is this song scene in which Ritwik is singing his heart out and everybody's clapping except Mr. Shah, who's there, who's utterly disappointed and, who's like, what the hell is going on? And I think, how did you come up? So, just tell us more about this rivalry between two singers, because this is sounding a lot like corporate rivalry, frankly. But please, if you can share.
So, I think also we took a little bit of a leaf from Mahabharata. You look at the character of Karna, and how he has a very righteous path, probably in the wrong space.
Okay.
So if history is written from the point of Kauravas, you will feel that Karna was with the wrong team, but was always righteous. He only wanted his mother to accept him as her son. And in Digvijay's track, you see inspirations from there, where all he wants is his father to say, "You are my son, you are my best student." And maybe that's true, or maybe that's not. But Panditji doesn't agree to it. Now, whether that is Panditji's greatness or his utmost human folly is for everyone to make their own judgments on. And because he's rejected by his own father for the music that literally belongs to him, he goes out and he wants to be bigger than his teacher. And that rivalry, where I want to defeat my own teacher or my own father, is of epic proportion, obviously. So who better than Atul Kulkarni to match up to Naseeruddin Shah? On a trivia note, Atul is also a student of Naseer sir, because Naseer sir used to go to NSD and teach to the acting batch, and Atul was very much part of it. And there is a certain amount of respect that they both have for each other's craft. And we needed somebody who could stand up to Naseeruddin Shah with the same amount of power. And of course, you can't match him. But if you have a Sachin Tendulkar on the other end, you need a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma. So people want to see both the batsmen perform at the same time. So it was a pleasure to just have Atul on board to do something like this.
Amrit, your view on this?
So I think, Rahul, similar to what Anand said, I think in a sense when we were writing him, I felt the reason why I think that we were able to make people with Atul a lot is because we never wrote him as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
We never wrote him as an antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote him as a man who wanted his father's approval. And exactly as you said, that this childlike quality is something that and we mention it in a scene when he's sitting with Mohini, and he kind of talks about the fact that he has everything in the world. He has money, he has fame, he has international music schools across the world, but he is not coming back to Jodhpur to fight Sangeet Samrat because he wants to win Sangeet Samrat. He wants to win his father back. And I think in a sense, one of the big learnings for us was that we were able to write him in a manner where people could empathize with his want and not see him as a bad guy who's trying to attack this family that we've all grown to love and like. So I think the best way to say it is that we didn't write him like a traditional or a mustache villain, whereas we gave him something very solid to vie for. So yeah, I would just add that as far as writing Atul's character is concerned.
Yeah, and just credit to Atul and to Naseer sir and to all the actors in that sense that they always brought in those nuances with such great empathy towards their characters. So nobody comes across as a bad human being or a bad character. You empathize with all characters, and all credit to the actors to understand that this is what the writing also intends. So yeah.
Superb. The next question is about the leading couple, Hrithwik and Shreya. So Hrithwik is a revelation, to be fair with you. I mean, to be honest here, and he's like a very unexpected, revelation, because he is your, the small town guy who wants to make it big. He's exceptionally motivated, and in many ways you can see a raw part of him as well. And at the same time, you can see the motivated part and the polished part as well in the show. My point is that how did you come? What is it about Hrithwik you think has come out in the show very well?
I think it's difficult to tell the difference between the egg white and the egg yolk here, in the sense because a lot of it, how much an actor contributes to the character and how much a character contributes to the actor's journey. It's a difficult one. Having said that, I think a great amount of credit to Hrithwik for taking on something as big as this, because him and Shreya are literally the backbones of this show. If they did not work, no amount of Naseer sir's good performance and Atul's good performance and great music by Shankar Ahsan Loy and great writing by Amritpal Bindra and great direction by Anand Tiwari wouldn't have added up. If these two youngsters, and I promise you as young actor, it is so difficult to be the backbones of a show like this, to really see it through and understand the nuances of where these characters start and where they end and really commit themselves to. So to Hrithwik's credit, and I would add Shreya's name to that too, that they both are highly committed and dedicated to their craft. And the misnomer that people have about Gen Zs is that they are people who are too flippant, they are too distracted, they're only on their phones. Well, you look at them work. Amrit and I work with youngsters in SSMC, in Still and Still Media Collective, and in UR day in, day out. And the kind of passion and focus these kids have is just exemplary. Even to millennials, it kind of motivates you to do better in your own work, because their aspirations can be met is very evident to them. I think for even millennials or Gen X, there was a certain amount कि हो सकता है कि हो या ना हो तो मैं इतने तक पहुंच जाऊंगा तो बहुत है. I think they are far more driven than us, and you see that in them as actors, and hence the characters that we wrote also complemented that. They are both very driven characters. So they completely dedicated themselves to the process. 3 months of training, whether it be the lip sync that Hrithwik had to do in his Riyaz sessions, which is very, very tough. It is not like a Bollywood lip sync. To knowing how to sit, to knowing how different this character is going to be from me. I think both of them fully dedicated themselves to it, and hence you see the results.
Okay, Amrit, my point is that what is your view of Shreya's character? It's a very, very ambitious character you have created. And how do you think this character template will play out in the coming movies? Where do you think will we be seeing more kind of movies like this?
So I think, Rahul, I think Shreya's character is like, is something that was, is the representation of urban Indian youth in many ways in our show, and which was very much a foliage or a juxtaposition to Radhe's character. Her ambitions are also very, very relatable for a lot of young people, because she wants to become India's first international pop star, which is quite an ambitious and a large dream, as to say. I also think that she imbibes a certain sense of confidence that was very attractive to the audiences. I think that she had a sense of appeal in terms of the way she did things. There was a sense of a very, very what is exciting about her is she's an alpha female, and that I think is really in many ways an attractive quality for audiences to see and kind of resonate, for people to resonate with. As far as how she goes ahead, that's of course a question that we are now grappling with and figuring on what and how we can do. But I definitely think there's a lot of potential in where she can go now, and especially if you see where we end her in the series, is where we've almost deconstructed this larger than life image and glamour of hers, where she starts off as this very confident internet sensation who has the world at her feet, who has success, who has money, who has everything going for her. And of course, through the course of this series, you start deconstructing the insecurities, the vulnerabilities of an artist who might have found overnight success, but is really grappling and struggling with holding on to it, and really in many ways, trying to battle with their own sense of what they, of mediocrity as far as talent is concerned. So it's not that, her character is in any ways a mediocre singer. She's a very, very good singer. She's very talented. But it's just that when you put her in front of a Radhe, it becomes difficult for her as a character, because she just realizes, it's going back to that idea of जिसने 19 साल एक राग पे काम किया है, आप उनके उस साइकी के साथ कैसे कंपेयर करोगे अपने आप को? चाहे आपके पास जितना भी टैलेंट हो, आप उस शिद्दत के साथ कैसे सोच सकते हो, is something that came up. And in fact that's a great learning also for us, actually, I think, and specifically for me as a writer on this, is that she is the more fun character. She's the more author-backed role. If you actually look at it, Radhe is a boring character to write, because he's idealistic. There are very few flaws that he does. He is absolutely the one thing that in many ways does all the textbook things that screenplay writing talks to you about. So in many ways, it's one of the more boring characters to write. But I think as you said, I think the fact that people have resonated so much with that journey, or that discipline, or that quiet and silent ambition of his, is actually testimony to the fact that there are things about idealism, and there are things about someone who has a higher goal in mind that is very attractive still to our audiences. And when you juxtapose that with a character like Shreya's, which is very much the opposite, who has a lot of inherent flaws, who's a lot more musty, who's a lot more entertaining, if I may say so, it really could create a lot of magic. So I think that's been a good way to kind of explore both these characters.
Superb. And I think full marks to both of you that you've brought these unique actors out from nowhere. They are here to be seen, and I'm sure the industry rises up to new talent in these times where we are contesting about different topics of who should do what in Bollywood, and multiple things. Now, just to wrap it up, what are you guys working on next? What is the new thing coming out of Still and Still Media Collective?
Lots is coming out. But right now we just need all the people that you possibly can to get them to watch Bandish Bandits, because we spend a great amount of love and passion and time on this, and all we need is everybody to watch it, and then we'll start talking about it.
But बताइए ना क्या कर रहे हैं next?
Well, I think Rahul, there's quite a lot happening. I mean, right now, we're just with there's quite a lot of things happening on the digital space. We're doing a couple of more shows for a couple of the OTT platforms. So we just want to get into naming them, because right now no official announcements are out. Of course, on the film side, we're also very excited and looking forward to our collaboration with Dharma. We announced a film with them in January. And we're doing a lot more. Anand is working on a film, but right now, just to give you any more details might be a little tricky. But we promise you that you will hear from us very, very soon. But there is a lot of work happening on the film front. There's a lot of work happening on the digital front, and so we're very excited. And this is a good time. This is a good time to be in.
Just one last question for my podcast channel, Filmi Baniya. Now you guys are essentially running a startup, if I can just more or less.
Right.
Absolutely.
We are on a journey to a startup. What are the 3 main success factors to build a creative business which is successful?
Wow.
3 or 5, take your pick, whatever.
Firstly, I think it would be a little presumptuous for us to start thinking that we're a successful company yet.
Exactly.
I think that's that. So I'd start by saying that this is more. So I think more than a mantra or anything, Rahul, I could share 3 learnings or insights that have held us in good stead, rather than having been a formula for success or anything. I think one thing is a combination of curiosity and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the challenge in today's world and market is that the creative consumer understanding, consumer trends, the way people are even consuming content is so rapidly changing, that the first thing that as a creative business that you have to be very open to is constantly learning and knowing about these things, and then being able to pivot accordingly. We're no more in that world where we can say कि नहीं मैंने अभी अपना 5-year plan बना लिया है, अभी मेरे को exactly यही करना है, year 1 में ये target achieve करना है, year 2 में ये target achieve करना है, year 3 में ऐसे करना है, year 4 में ऐसे करना है. I think that world has changed. I think today in the world that we are, if you're not curious and you're not flexible, I think it's going to be very tough to kind of, manage. And just to give you an example of ourselves, we started as wanting to only do films. That's how Still and Still was created. We actually, the genesis of our company actually came off when I went to see a play that Anand was acting in. And it was almost like an anthology of monologues. And there was one monologue that I really liked, and I said, what is the deal on this? And then Anand and me got started speaking, and then we even aligned on much larger things, that we realized that we should do a company together, and that's how it started. And the idea was that we were going to make that property into a movie. When we did Bang Baja Barat in 2015, which is not that long ago, the world of Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar was alien to this country. We were the 3rd web series that ever got made in the country, and people didn't even understand what web series meant. So, we really traversed a lot of ground from doing shows and content in only 5 years. So I'm not even talking about, it's been decades or generations. It's literally been 5 years. So I think curiosity and flexibility is one key component. I think the other thing about, building in some ways a creative industry that we have kind of experienced is really building a great team. I think one of the learnings is that, because there is such it's such a collaborative art form anyways. The other thing is that, there's only that much that one or two individuals can do. And we constantly, as ourselves, also constantly fight with this idea, right? Do we expand and grow, or do we focus and kind of go deep? Like, for example, I would say that the last 3 years of my life have predominantly been about Bandish Bandits. I would say the last 2 years of Anand's life predominantly have been Bandish Bandits. And before that, Anand was fully working on Love Per Square Foot. Yeah. So it was literally, so we have a very immersive way of working. But now, in order to be true to our aspirations as entrepreneurs, we also have to grow the company. We can't keep doing one project for 3 years. Now, how do you do that? The only way to do that is build a good team around you that can also be very much part of the machinery that builds and develops and kind of does that. And I would say the last thing I would say is just keep creating. I think there is a lot of the third thing is just keep working. Working, creating, whatever it is. I think a lot of people get very head up on there. Yeah. A lot of people get very head up on this idea, what is our vision? हमारा mission statement क्या है? हम लोग किस तरीके के content में believe करते हैं? What do we want to say as artists? Well, that's all great. The idea is, I think, to build a great creative business. And whether you read it, I'm a big fan of Ed Catmull, who wrote the book Creativity Inc.
Yes, Ed Catmull
started Pixar.
Right?
Yeah, and exactly right. One of the things he speaks about, which is so true, is that, right, it is only us who burden ourselves with a show or with a company as a goal. If we don't burden ourselves with it and do it as a journey where you will make mistakes, where you will learn, where some things will be great and some things will be terrible, it really liberates you into really doing a lot more, and eventually, I think, leads to a lot more success. So I think the idea is that if we're able to not look at getting, everything perfect, while the pursuit of excellence is something that, is very, very crucial in anything you do. But I think that this idea of overthinking it and not creating, and constantly second guessing or third guessing or saying, nee, we don't know if we want to do this, if we want to do this, I think that is in many ways an impediment and a roadblock to growing and learning.
Superb.
So in some ways, what I'm saying is that, if you can, if in a sense, I'm saying, if you can be open to changing your mind. I think in India, there is this stigma that if you change your mind, you are not focused, or you are not strong, or you are not thing. I think the real learning for me has been that you should always be ready to change your mind. And if you can change your mind, a lot of success can come your way. I think if you can build a good team. And the third and the most important thing is, if you can just go out there and constantly create and not be worried about failure. I think really, if you can embrace this idea, and we all have it, we all have the insecurity of failure. But if we are able to rise above that and really say that everything is part of a journey that will eventually lead me to knowing and understanding better, rather than saying that every piece of project has to be a success or has to be a mega hit, if we can get rid of this fear of failure, I think these are 2-3 things that can help us in at least going in the right direction.
Well put. I agree with most of you, because most of what you've said, because I'm an entrepreneur for the last 12 years myself.
Right.
I agree. And Anand, your view?
I think everything that Amrit said, I 100% agree with that. And a lot of people, especially artists, worry a lot about what is my voice and and just connecting it back to Bandish Bandits and music. I think until you sing, you will not know what your voice is. So there is no singing that will help you if it is only in the mind. I think you have to let the sound out, and you will know whether it is in sur or not, what kind of songs suit you and what kind don't. And you'll only be able to know if you do. So the idea is to go out there and do something. In Hindi, we keep joking between our theatre friends. We say "Vigyan karke seekhe." So we always discourage actors when they ask too many questions. We tell them act. You will find the answer. So similarly, I feel for entrepreneurs, for startups, the idea is to do as much as you can and experiment as much as you can, and you will find your voice.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Filmi Baniya's episode of the show Bandish Bandits with its creators Anand and Amritpal Singh Bindra. And this is Rahul Gupta signing off for this episode. This episode has been a very unique journey for me as a presenter and a podcaster. We have transcended the world of creativity, ending up to startups and many topics discussed. A big thank you to you, Anand, and a big thank you to you, Amrit. Please subscribe.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Filmi Baniya,
Yes, right away.
F-I-N-I-Y-A, and hit the bell icon. Thank you so much, guys. This has been a real